The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Shows are my absolute favorite. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in. Off the Bench, presented by UDF. Justin Kinner, no Casey McAllister today. We do have Elliot rearing over to my right by himself, lonely. Look at him, lonely. Just all by himself. No friends. Is it just Kinner and Elliot today? Is it just us?
I don't think so.
I think we have a third, ladies and gentlemen, in the producer chair, sitting at 6'2" and 500 pounds, Jacob Tissett.
500 pounds was mean, but I will take 6'2". Wow, I'll take 6'2" any day of the week. Yeah,
I'm 5'5". Everybody looks 6'2" to me.
It's Friday. Yeah, I think 6'2" is a big number for just men in general. I think 6'1", people think you're lying. 6 foot, you're definitely lying. 5'11", you're a good truth teller. 6'2", I think people believe you.
Well, if you're 6 feet or shorter, actually, if you're not, I mean, look, I'm 5'5", so it's always 5'5" and a half, 5'7" and a half. I've never heard someone say that they're 6'2" and a half or 6'4" and a half.
Yeah.
I think the and a half is just for short people. It just makes us feel like we have a little more control. So there you go. But yeah, no Casey McAllister today. Jacob Tissett in the producer chair, and I know that's your favorite.
It is.
He comes in early. And I'm in a talkative mood today. I'm in a very good mood this morning. I don't know why. I'm usually kind of tired and bled in the morning, but I'm talking and he's working his ass off over there, and I'm just a big distraction. Then you leave, and then I turn my attention towards Elliot, and Elliot's typing, trying to get stuff ready for the show, and I'm just chatty-Cathy over here.
That's all right. I like it. I like the conversation. It's a pleasant. Sometimes we come in here and nobody talks for a good 15 to 20 minutes before the show. So I like the conversation. I like it. It gets us fired up, gets us ready.
So some would say that Kinner brought the vibes.
You did bring the vibes.
There's one in particular that says I don't, and I don't think I do, but maybe just today, maybe. It's a Friday. It's my favorite day of the week.
I think so.
There you go.
You should end the show with a victory dunk. Where's the ball? Is it over here? You should end the show, when the show ends today, you should dunk on the hoop.
We've also thought about
asking me to do a lot of camera work over here.
I am not 6'2", but that is a shorter rim. And if I can't dunk on that, then
I hope you can get up
I
there.
think you can dunk on that one.
Maybe. Got to start stretching. That's all that matters. Hey, the Reds suck.
Oh, who would have guessed that?
We got one positive show this year.
It's only 7 games. And after we lose tonight, it's only 8.
I can't wait till it's only been 100 games.
After you lose the series to the Brewers, it's only 3 series. And you just keep going down the line until the sun burns out. So that's where we are right now in Reds fandom. Good for everybody. I'm
Evan
happy
Maurer,
for
your
us.
dear friend, asks why no one is asking for Terry Francona to be held accountable. I think you have been.
It's a fair question.
You have been.
It's a fair question by our good friend Evan, because last year, if David Bell, I'll tell you right now, if David Bell went 3 games without scoring a single run,
he would have been fired.
He would have been fired on the spot. There would have been protests outside of the ballpark. Nobody would have showed up to the games. So there would have been a lot going on there if David Bell had this same situation, but I'm not going to go there because this is positive, Elliot.
Surely he had 3 scoreless games in his tenure with the Reds.
Not in a row. Not in a row. And that's what it's all about here. So good luck. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep doing the bit. It's only 8 games. It's only 20 games. There's a clip that was released yesterday of me saying on the show yesterday that the Reds are not significant. The lineup's not significantly better than last year. I had everybody yelling at me for that one. Nick Kirby posted a lineup, one of the worst lineups I've ever seen from last season. That was, I think, the truly the bottom of the barrel in terms of lineups that were given out last year. You tweeted that one. Well, they haven't scored a run still. So I mean that lineup last year, the one with Dominic Smith, and who else? Who's the other names on that list?
They were one and dones.
Whoever else they were, they scored runs. This team doesn't score any runs. But we'll talk about it.
Well, luckily, in 4 short months, Bengals report to camp. So
that's right.
That's,
maybe for the last time in Cincinnati.
Yes. I mean, the St. Louis Bengals, baby.
Oh, man.
Coming to the NFL near you.
What a time. I mean, really, if we took a second to step back and think, I mean, What a time to be a sports fan in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
Where
it is.
were we? A year ago talking about we got Elliot in Great American, we got Burrow and Jamar in Paycor. This is the best time maybe ever to be a Bengals fan and a Reds fan. And now, the Reds, second team in the live ball era to lose 3 straight games 0-1. Bengals might not even be the Cincinnati Bengals anytime soon. So we're actually in hell.
Is it quicker when it's Bengals season and we say it's Reds season?
Yeah.
Or is it quicker when it's Reds season and then we say it's Bengals season? Which one happens quicker?
We give the Bengals more time to get out of their hole, I think.
Okay.
And I think it's just because over the last 3 years we saw it twice. And really last year, they got back in the mix. So I think we give them more time to get out of the hole. Reds season flips to Bengals season 2 or 3 times, though. So I guess in that sense, it's probably not fair.
I would say it's definitely when the Reds lose like 3 games off the rip.
It's over.
We're on to the Bengals.
Casey wore a Bengals tracksuit after, what was it, game 1?
Yes.
Yeah, so pretty much.
What's he doing today?
Can you think about how different this season outlook would be if Terry Francona didn't put in Jabot on opening day?
If we would have just won that baseball game?
If you win that game, this whole season has a different light. Whole season.
I'm still fascinated by the 14 runs in game 1 against the Rangers.
Yeah, I can't explain that.
But that is wild, like the turnaround. Like you could have won that game 4-3.
Torpedo bats.
And then gone 3 straight, and then go 3 straight games being shut out. Not acceptable either, but like at least it would have made. But to put 14 runs up in game 1, and then follow it up going scoreless for 3 straight games afterwards, that's pretty impressive.
It is.
Like at this point, like I'm not rooting for the Reds to lose, but I do want to see how many straight games they can kind of go scoreless at this point. Like,
if you want to know how my fandom's going, I was cheering for the Brewers last night to score more runs.
Okay.
Because I couldn't bear to take another 1-0 loss.
It's just more likely that we lose 2 or 3-0 than we score.
So yeah, correct. So if you look at it next year or tonight or the next series, whenever they score 1, the other team that is, you just got to cheer for them to blow us out. Because that's the only way I'm going to get any sort of positivity out of this season. We're just really, really bad. I'd rather lose 25-0 than 1-0.
100%. Yeah, these games are excruciating. I asked Elliot yesterday, when does it get funny? When does the scoreless streak get funny? Do we have to push like 50 innings? Do we have to go another game?
No. If they lose 1-0 for 4 straight games, the first time in Major League Baseball history, and that's funny. 300 years. Then I'll start laughing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
So yesterday we did our score predictions, and I'm not going to take credit for it because I was being a smart ass when I said, the Reds are going to lose 1-0 for the 3rd straight game. I'm only angry at myself because I'm going to put money on it tonight.
Yeah.
But it won't. They will not lose 1-0. They may lose, but they won't lose 1-0 because I'm going to put money on it. And last night I went to just look. I can't remember. I went ahead and I put like $15 in just to see what the payout would be. It would have been like $300-something bucks if I would have put. And so I'm really kicking myself today for not doing that. But I was like, there's no way in hell. It hasn't been done since 1960. There's no way in hell that they are going to get shut out for the 3rd straight game. Way.
I think I'm going to hedge it tonight with saying they lose 2-0.
Wow.
That's fair.
Okay.
2 or 3-0.
I feel like Reds under half a run has to have some serious value. I know it's 3 games in a row. It's probably gone in the tank, but that still has to be. Yeah, they are a professional baseball team.
We're getting dangerously close to saying we're due.
Yeah, I'll say it.
Are we due?
We haven't scored in 30 innings, Elliot.
Yeah, but we're also
28.
We're also cursed. So are we due or are we cursed?
Yeah.
Or does God hate us? Because there's one of the 3 is happening right now, and I can't tell which one.
Well, this team, they just need a 12-game win streak. That's it. Just win the next 12.
Yeah, they're working their way up to needing a 14-game win streak.
Do what you got to do. They do have a positive run differential. That's what the funniest part about all of this is.
If they lose every series all year long but win every other game 14-3, they'll end the season with a positive run differential.
I was looking. The Braves are still winless right now.
Yeah.
I think they have. This was just a random funny baseball stat. They've got like a 40% chance to win their division. The 5-1 Giants have like a 2% chance. It's just funny how baseball works. The Reds 2-5 again. The NL Central. The Cardinals are 4-2. Cubs 5-4. Brewers 3-4. Reds and Pirates down in the basement 2-5. Only 2.5 games back. But yeah, it's going to be. I tweeted this yesterday. It's going to be a long year, man. And it's not because of 3 bad games. It's not because of. It's not because it's a rough start to the season. it's going to be a long season because there's still no answer at all on offense. And there's going to be games where they score 20 and 13 and 7 and 5. There's going to be games where they score runs. It's too long of a season for them not to. So that's going to happen. The issue is they're not going to be able to do it consistently. That's why I said what I said yesterday. It's just like you don't know what Reds team you're going to get. Like a lot of baseball teams right now pretty much know their identity. They know if they're going to be able to score runs or not. We have genuinely no idea, no clue. And that just makes it for a long, long, long summer.
Off the bench, presented by UDF. We usually open up with headlines. We're going to get to headlines when we come back, and then we're going full steam ahead into what happened last night for the third straight time. First time since 1960 a team gets shut out 1-0 for 3 consecutive games. That's, well, if you're going to be bad, be historically bad.
That's
and
right.
That's what the Reds have been over the last 3 games. But they've been historically bad, but they've also been pretty damn good on, well, as far as the pitching goes. That's the crappy thing. The pitching, we should be talking about how dominant, not just the rotation is, the bullpen's been fantastic as well. The way the rotation is operated thus far, going so deep into, I don't remember the last time the Reds had a rotation that went consistently deep into games the way that we've been witnessing, and I think that's elevated the bullpen because the bullpen's not tired. And that was one thing that Francona mentioned, I remember, in his opening press conference. The bullpen, it's very important to handle that correctly so that you don't wear the bullpen down. Well, that's one thing they've done very well, pitching top to bottom. And they have nothing to show for it. They're last place, 2-5. I mean, it's brutal. So we'll get more into the Reds coming up here in a bit. We'll get into more fallout from the comments made yesterday by Katie Blackburn. Lots to still get into there. And then we'll talk about, well, now we could say college basketball season is officially over here in the state of Ohio. Got the Final Four this weekend, of course. But the Bearcats, everyone dreams of ending their season in April, and they did that. They ended it in April. We had that coming up for you as well. More Off the Bench headlines with Elliot when we return. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by UDF. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing. No Casey McAllister today. He's not off today. He's just off doing other projects as usual, so we appreciate him. Looking forward to getting him back next week. Happy Friday. Time to still dive into. The Reds have lost 3 straight 1-0 games. First time that's happened since 1960. Historically bad little stretch that they find themselves in. We'll dive into more of that coming up here in a bit. We got some Bengals chatter around the corner as well, and we'll talk college basketball. Bearcat season comes to an end finally, as Elliot would say yesterday, in the historic crown, as you call it. So
the historic prestigious crown.
The
We added.
historic prestigious crown, invitational.
That's right.
Very well.
Only 16 courageous teams were invited to fight for the crown.
Didn't some teams turn it down?
Yeah.
You have that option. But hey, before we get into all of that, let's kick it over to Elliot for Elliot's headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines, whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Just make sure I got something here.
There we go.
We'll start with the historic crown. The Cincinnati Bearcats, they have been eliminated.
No, I got you.
No, I got it.
All right.
I got it. The Cincinnati Bearcats have been eliminated from the postseason. What a day it was at the historic crown. 88-80, the final. They lose to the Golden Knights of Central Florida. Tough. Day Thomas led Bearcats scores with 19 I keep wanting to say Donovan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell, 17 points, 12 boards. Jizzle, 4 for 14 from the floor. Thank you very much. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think I was going to watch any of this tournament. I did watch the end of it yesterday.
Proud of you.
I did watch the end of it yesterday. And what I saw was when UC was down by like 6, 7, 8, right around the last 4 minutes, the UC possessions went Day would cross midcourt, so like 3 seconds had gone by on the shot clock, pulls up from half court, miss, and then they get the ball.
Yeah,
that was the possession.
That seems like a good offensive possession, a good offensive mindset to go through the game in the Crown. I had a question for you. Obviously,
Sure.
Bearcat season ends April 3rd. When's the next time you think the Bearcat season will end in April?
Ooh.
Whether that be Crown or Final Four.
Well, if you open up the door to the historic Crown, then really there's no limitations for it being next year. I think next year they're going to be playing ball in April. There's no doubt in my mind. Kenner, what was your takeaway from the historic Crown?
I'm actually just surprised that so many teams actually, not committed to it, obviously, but I'm surprised that so many players committed to actually playing in it. So I think that's a win.
Sure.
I didn't think there was a chance in hell. I didn't think there was a chance in hell that there would be so many teams that didn't run into issues where players wanted to bolt before, because there's so many there's over 1,500 players in the portal right now, and that means all those players who are playing in the Crown are already behind the 8 ball when it comes to entering the portal if they want to and trying to get a jump on getting on one of these rosters. 1,500 players in the portal already. More than half of them are not going to find a new landing spot. It's a gamble doing that, and coincidentally enough, you're in Vegas. It's a gamble not to enter the portal if you plan on it and jumping on a roster as soon as you can.
I wonder
again,
if not just putting them behind the 8 ball. I wonder if it'll influence these guys to stay at their schools.
Yeah,
I mean the timeline of the Crown being so late, maybe guys that were planning on transferring, if it was close and they were on the fence, maybe they lean towards staying at their school.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a positive.
Yeah, maybe the boys bought into Coach Westmiller.
There
finally,
you go.
It took the historic Crown, but
You think
we
they're
got
as pissed
it.
as he is?
Huh?
You think they're as pissed off as he is?
Oh, I have no doubt in my mind.
That's good.
That they're all pissed. That they're real pissed. And it's his fault. You don't blame them. You blame him.
That's
you
right.
blame him because he's pissed.
He's a man. He's 40.
He's a man. He's 40. Other scores from the historic Crown. Villanova, they won by 1 over USC, 60-59. Sounds like a great game if I cared to watch. And finally, the NIT. I sent this, Jacob. Have you seen the video that I sent?
I did.
Probably not.
I did.
You did. The NIT championship last night went to overtime. Great game. And by the way, that's a great tournament. Great historic tournament, the NIT championship. That's where the real champions play. Chattanooga survived in overtime against UC Irvine. The final play of that game was a successful full court pass to the other side of the court with 2 seconds to go. But then UC Irvine misses a wide open layup. Brutal.
Christian Laettner did irreparable damage to college basketball. That full court pass worked one time. It worked for Alabama State in the play-in, and then I guess you could say it worked last night. But man, that success rate of that full court pass since Christian Laettner hit that shot is near zero, and people still try it every single time.
I've never understood why I don't know how they think that's a better percentage look than if you just take a half-court shot.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a kid in the world that hasn't attempted a half-court shot.
Right.
And probably shoots. If you gave him, 10 attempts, they're probably going to make at least 2.
Yeah.
Like, I think most, Division I college basketball players make at least two half-court shots out of 10 attempts.
On a clean look, for sure.
Yeah. That full-court pass never works, ever. But nonetheless, everybody tries it. So that's it for basketball. We have the Final Four, by the way, if you care about that, watching the best of the best. They play Saturday. they play Saturday at 6:08. So tune in. The Reds, as Justin Kinner mentioned, they lose 1-0. 1-0 for the third consecutive time. Again, I'm going to read it because I already had it, so you're not going to steal my stats away from me. They are the first team since 1960 to lose 3 consecutive 1-0 games. They are the 6th team to do it since 1901. Thank you to Jay Morrison for this stat. Joining the 1908 Brooklyn Superbass.
Nice. What a name.
The 1909 St. Louis Browns. The 1909 Washington Nationals.
Okay.
The 1917 Pittsburgh Pirates, and the 1960 Philadelphia Phillies. I just keep thinking back to Moneyball when during the montage of the winning streak, it's like the 19 whatever Murderers Row Yankees, you have company, and they keep rattling off, and it's like you feel really good. Well, I just picture like imagine like Marty just saying the 1908 Brooklyn Super Bass, you have company for losing 3 straight 1-0 games.
Yeah.
What a magical moment for us all.
Chance for history tonight.
That's
None of
right.
them lost a fourth 1-0.
Candelario and Trevino were the only 2 Reds to get hit. If Trevino is one of the 2 guys that gets a hit, you're in big trouble. So
Ripped that sucker off.
he did. That's that bat. That's their torpedo bat. That's what the submarine bat. That's the club. That's good job. Nick Lodolo 6.2, 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 unearned run he allowed. One ironically they lose 1-0, and it was unearned. Was his error, mind you? It was his. I do think like. If the pitcher is the one responsible for the error, they should just be earned runs.
I agree. I do agree.
But it was one of those ones he's running towards first base, and it's hard to make a catch, I guess. Heading over to the other MLB scores, the Yankees, they win 9-7 over the Diamondbacks. 3 Yankees hit home runs, including our guy Jazz. So that's a torpedo bat guy.
That is.
And Aaron Judge. That's a non-torpedo bat guy. So, again, nothing really solved ever.
Jazz's torpedo bat, and I feel like at this point we've seen them all.
Yeah.
And maybe my brain is just mush by the Twitter edits that make it bigger every 10 likes and everything along those lines. Jazz's torpedo bat seems by far the most torpedo-y out of any of the bats.
Yeah.
It looks insane when he's in the batter's box. So I don't know what the difference is between his and the rest of them, but they moved some serious wood around.
They did.
On his bat.
They did. The Astros, they win 5-2 over the Twins. 5-2 over the Twins. The Astros have been struggling lately. Good for them. Get a win.
Wait, I thought in baseball both teams weren't allowed to score. I thought only one team could score.
Yeah.
That's a
No,
misconception.
yeah, that's the
thing.
That's a
Oh.
misconception.
A rule change. Rob Manfred, innovator.
The Phillies, they survive against the Rockies 3-1. Yippee. And the Red Sox, they beat the Orioles 8-4. Those are your Major League Baseball scores. Heading over to the association. The Bucks, they win 126-113. Giannis, 35 points, 17 rebounds, 20 assists.
Would have been 250 points if it was the 1970s.
Yes. The Warriors beat the Lakers 123-116.
That game was
Curry
awesome.
Curry dropped 37 points. Are the Lakers already in? Did they clinch yet?
I don't believe so, but I think they are on the precipice. I think they're close.
We just got to get them to clinch. I got a future on them to win, so we got to get them in. Any other? I'm trying to think of any other headlines that I missed. I don't think so. I think
Just a college basketball note that I thought was a little bit funny. We hit one in football with Dylan Raiola a couple years ago, but this is, to my knowledge, the first 8 for 8 in college basketball. A.J. Storr, Wisconsin player 2 years ago, transferred to Kansas this year, just entered the transfer portal yesterday to transfer to his 4th school in as many years in college. Well, it's important to note that he also played for 4 high schools, a different high school in a different state all 4 years of high school. So he is going to hit the elusive 8 for 8, a different school every single year from your freshman year of high school to your senior year of college. My first of my knowledge in college basketball. The worst part of the transfer portal is when kids like this just jump around, year in year at every single school. It's an absolute mess.
I did see this. I'm going to add one more. I saw this, and I did forget to put this on there. The PGA Tour has rejected PIF's recent offer to invest $1.5 billion to unify golf. So that won't be happening anytime soon. Thank you very much.
So PGA turned down $1.5 billion?
They did. 1.5 bill to, I guess, make everything whole. But nope.
1.5 billion with a B. Interesting. But yeah, the Crown. I don't know how long we're going to keep these out, but why not? I
think until next year's Crown.
It's to commemorate the great season by the Cincinnati Bearcats, who ended their season in April. As we've joked, that's every team's goal coming in. I saw someone in the chat earlier say that we all must hang out at Burger King a lot. Actually, no. I left work yesterday. Really hungry. Drive-through too long. Running late. Got to get back before my show. And so I get out and go in. There's a family in front of me, and they're requesting these crowns. And I thought of Elliot right away. And so they're asking the guys going to the back to get them. I'm like, hey, can you grab a couple for me too? I'd appreciate it. Oh, you have kids too? I'm like, no, it's for my friends. Really awkward. everyone just kind of stared at me, which I'm used to in an uncomfortable way, and they handed
for
me the
my
crowns.
friends.
And then I stood there for 7 minutes while they made fresh fries, and I just held onto the crowns.
There you go.
Kids putting theirs together, putting them on, the parents taking pictures, and there's just me. got my crowns for my friends, and we're good to go.
That's the good stuff.
Do it for the bit. So there you go. All right, off the bench, presented by UDF. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing. No Casey McAllister. He'll be back next week. Let's talk about those Reds more in depth a little bit. I think we kind of expressed our frustration and disappointment. But we keep blaming a lot of the issues on the Reds on what they don't have. We keep talking about, Austin Hayes on the IL, Tyler Stevenson on the IL. We keep talking about, what Nick Krall didn't do in the offseason. And that's what's leading to this 2-5 start. But at some point, you got to look at what is on this roster and those who are talented enough to be performing at a high level. And at what point do we start looking at Ellie and Matt McClain and say, hey, this little 3 straight games of 1-0, not blaming you, but you're very much accountable. It can't always be what's not on the roster. At some point, you got to look at those who are, and those guys are not playing very well right now. We'll talk about that more in depth when we come back. This is Off the Bench, presented by UDF. All right, and we are back. This is Off the Bench, presented by UDF. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here. So here's the deal. I had someone yesterday on my show kind of compare the Reds, to the Bengals a little bit, where poor Ellie, poor Matt McClain, they just have no help. And I bought into that for a second, and then I started to think they're not comparable to the Bengals because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins did their thing while the defense continued to fail them and let them down throughout the season. The offensive line got depleted and was not very good throughout the season, of course. You look at the fact that, special teams with McPherson and play calling, and there were so many, we could talk about all the things that the Bengals didn't have. But the one thing you knew that you did have, Joe Burrow showed up every week, minus week 1, but that was everyone decided as a team not to show up. But pretty much every week, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins showed up. When they were out there, they did their part. There was no doubt about it. So it was safe to say, hey, you know what? Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, man, they're just not getting help. How do you get a Triple Crown season from Jamar Chase? How do you get a 4,700-yard, 40-plus touchdown season from Joe Burrow? You look at T stayed relatively healthy throughout the year, earned an extension, obviously, and got that. Those guys did their part. They didn't get help. That narrative was real. I can't sit here and say that Ellie and Matt McClain aren't getting help at this point because when you look at the fact that this team has lost 3 straight games, 1-0, a historic little run. We haven't seen anything like this since 1960, as we talked about throughout the broadcast. It would be one thing if Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz were playing lights out the way they did the first couple of games and then no one else was stepping up. But the problem is they are 2 for 29. Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain over the last 3 games are 2 for 29 with 11 strikeouts. We can't compare this narrative to the Bengals because the thing is the Bengals stars played like stars and we're still losing because of the lack of depth around them. The Red Stars aren't playing like stars, at least in the lineup, because the stars right now are in the rotation, and even the non-stars are pitching like stars, and you got to give them a lot of credit. The problem is we can't give the rotation credit. We can't admire what the bullpen is doing. We can't sit here and talk about the fact that, hey, for 3 straight games, the Reds have been shut out. We should be talking about the fact that for 3 straight games, the pitching staff has only given up 1 run. That should be what we're talking about, and we're not, because that only 1 run that they gave up, and technically the pitching staff's losing us games. Because they're the one giving up the run that's costing them. So at the end of the day, I can't compare the narratives of the Reds and the Bengals because I don't think they're the same. Because I think right now the stars aren't showing up. Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, you can't produce 1 run in 3 straight games. I'm not blaming them by any means. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I do think if we can give them all the praise in the world, I think it's fair to give them some criticism as well. They play a role in this. I don't want to hear that Austin Hayes and these guys are out. That's what's leading to this. Austin Hayes being out should not impact whether Ellie can put the ball in play or not. That should not impact it. By the way, Ellie was not the best defensively last night either. I'm not going to harp on the error, but there was a couple. Give Christian Encarnacion Strand a lot of credit. There was a lot of throws to first that he was tiptoeing the bag to stretch out to bring it in. There was a couple where he's like kind of looking at the bag to see if he's going to call him safe or out. It was not a good night defensively for Ellie either. So McClain and Ellie, it stinks, but you have to rely on them to be the stars because that's what they are. Joe Burrow couldn't afford an off day, and if he did, for instance, we got the debate that time, Joe Burrow, the interceptions at the certain times of games, it's like, well, what does he have to be perfect? Unfortunately, yeah. Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, well, they can't be perfect every day. They kind of have to be, like they're expected to be. So at this point right now, it is frustrating watching what we're seeing and talking about Nick Kroll and the lack of depth, but the bottom line is, even if you're getting production from others, the Reds still aren't going to win a lot of games moving forward if you're going 3, 4, 5 game stretches where Matt McClain and Elliot De La Cruz are a combined 2 for 29 with 11 strikeouts. Yeah. That's also very alarming more than anything else. Not about Austin Hayes, Tyler Stevenson. To me, those two, they have to be better because even if they're average over the last 3 games, they're winning all 3 of those. You held a team to 1 freaking run for 3 straight games. You couldn't even, like a bad offensive game is 2 runs on any given night. A bad offensive production night should have you with 3 straight wins right now. And they haven't even been able to do that. Yes, the bottom of the order stinks, but the top half of the order should not be equaling the bad production at the bottom. And they have just equally sucked from 1 to 9, no matter who's out there, and that's a problem.
They've I'll give them a little bit of credit because they have been consistent at being bad. That's the one thing they've been consistent at all year. Not Ellie and Matt specifically, the entire lineup. And the fact that we're still struggling to get out of a slump in the 6th game, the 7th game, it's just not how you want to start a season. Nobody's saying that it is. The pitching staff's been incredible. They have the 5th best team ERA in the sport of baseball right now. They have the 5th best ERA in the sport of baseball. They have a winning run differential. They are 2-5. Do you know how pathetic that is? Truly, how sad it is. Losing 2 straight 1-0 games is wild. Losing 3 straight 1-0 games, it's out of the realm of panic button. Like I'm in full blown panic mode. Elliot, it's only 7 games. It's only 10 games. It's only the first month. It's only the first year of Terry. It's only the second year of Terry. It's only the 20th year, 30th year. You can't keep using that excuse. Eventually, you have to have a roster that's ready to roll. This roster wasn't ready to roll. We all knew that. Now, in large part, is it because that we're missing key contributors on offense? Yeah, of course it is. When Tyler Stevenson, one of our probably premier hitters on the team, isn't able to be healthy for God knows how long, that's going to hurt you. When Spencer Steer, who led the team in RBIs last year, isn't able to use his arms, but is our full-time DH, it's going to hurt the team.
Can't play back-to-backs.
When Austin Hayes was brought in to help the outfield, hasn't seen a game yet in 7 games, going to be an issue. The Reds, when CES gets drilled in the fingers or the wrist for the 9th straight time, yeah, it's all these things. Sure, you can look and say, well, we didn't expect all yada yada. We didn't expect all these injuries. I expected the injuries. Jacob expected everybody expected injuries because they've been an injured team for 3, 4, 5 years now. So you don't get to use that as an excuse anymore. The roster wasn't built significantly better than it was last year. They convinced Terry Francona to come back and manage the Reds. I don't know what the sales pitch was, but the Reds aren't a good team right now. And that's unfortunate given how lights out the pitching staff has been. The Reds pitching staff has given up 2 runs in 3 games, 2 earned runs in 3 games. Again, last night's 1 run that the Brewers scored was not earned. Was on Nick Lodolo. But the point remains. This has been a colossal disaster. Sure, are the Reds eventually going to be able to hit? Yeah. No, correct. It's just how baseball works. But this stretch is unacceptable. I mean, it's just not acceptable.
You know what the odds of losing 3 straight 1-0 games are? At least
1 in a million?
according to Twitter Grok AI.
1 in a million?
Oh, no. How about 1 in 296 million?
Yeah.
It's next to impossible. It's very, very hard to go 3 straight games without scoring, much less losing a 1-0 game. This circles me back to the conversations we had, most notably on the opening day stream when Kirby and Trace were in here, but really the conversations we've had with every single Reds person throughout the entirety of the offseason that we've had the privilege of talking to. Every time we bring up a concern about the outfield or about the bats or about the depth, that was more often than not met with, yeah, but the pitching rotation. The pitching rotation is incredible. We're going to be okay
They
because
literally
we
couldn't
have
play
the
any better.
elite pitching rotation.
Yeah.
We're seeing the elite pitching rotation, and the offense is historically bad to a level where 1 run through 9 innings doesn't matter. That's impossible. And we have guys in the chat, sorry, I lost it now, but Kevin P. in our chat says, if you're making criticisms, come up with some solutions. You got to be more specific. The solutions were supposed to come in the last 4 months during the offseason, when you have opportunity after opportunity to add to a lineup that you watched play for 162 games that wasn't good enough. Going for a 1-year, $5 million deal for Austin Hayes, being forced to start Jose Trevino at catcher because Tyler Stevenson's not healthy, adding Gavin Lux, who doesn't even have really a position in the lineup, that's not enough to make a team that wasn't a playoff team last year all of a sudden, boom, a contender to compete for the playoffs and win a World Series. That's not what this team was built to be. So I think the frustration comes with, we had solutions. We brought up the answers. They ignored them. We defended them most of the offseason, saying, well, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe this will work out as we get to the season. It's 6 games in. I don't want to flip my lid, but it doesn't feel like it's working. I don't know. We're going to bank on guys that have missed the first 10 games to be healthy for the next 150?
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, you can sit here and say it's only 7 games, it's only 8 games, it's only a week, it's only a month, it's only a year. You can keep doing that, but it doesn't change the dynamic of the roster. And I had issues going in. I refrained from saying it on this show because I sound so negative all the time, and I get that. You don't want to hear my negativity. Gavin Lux and Austin Hayes, Jose Trevino, those aren't winning moves. They're not winning moves for a team that doesn't have superstars at every position.
Those are perfect and moves.
Correct.
You had a guy and those guys.
Yep. Complimentary moves.
That can't be the headliner. The best move we made this offseason was the manager.
Those three guys cannot carry you to the postseason. And maybe that wasn't the goal for them to carry us to the postseason. But the rest of the roster either isn't healthy or they're not consistent enough to be good. You have Ellie De La Cruz, but even back to Justin Kinner's point, Ellie has at times not come up in the big moments. He's been great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Ellie's been great. He's been phenomenal, generational. But you can't expect him to go out and go 3 for 4 every night. He can't be that. He can't go 1 for 4 every night. It's baseball. It's just not like that. I hope there's going to be an answer going forward. And if you had to tell me right now, Elliot, or you have to ask me right now, Elliot, what's the answer? Unless you're going to trade or sign somebody,
which they won't,
then there's nothing you can do because they're not going to do it. They didn't do it.
We're hanging our hat on Will Benson and Eovaldi Marte coming.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up next, and we'll
Good
talk
numbers.
And we'll talk about that next. The lineup that you see right now. Are they going to be a little bit better in a month? Maybe. But you can't realistically expect this team to go from last year being terrible at offense to this year being somehow great at offense. It's the same roster with Gavin Lux. That's what this is. And Gavin Lux hasn't been good. So I'm going to give it time, sure. But I grow more and more frustrated knowing that everybody and their mother and their brother and their sister and their father, everybody said, please go out and get a power bat. Please go out and help the offense. Please. Please. They brought Gavin Lux and Austin Hayes. No disrespect to those two. Those are good pieces on a team with other pieces around them.
Gavin Lux, or Austin Hayes said last week, quote, power is not a part of my game.
Power is not a part of his game. I'm not calling the season over. It's just you can't realistically expect this team to make leaps and bounds with the lineup that we have. You can't do it. The pitching staff's been incredible, but here's the thing. the pitching staff eventually is going to find its level too. And I hate to say that, but you don't just throw 3 straight 1-0 games and expect that to continue. Eventually, the pitching staff's going to give up 3 and 4, and God forbid they give up 5. Then what's the offense going to do? Because if they don't have an answer for 1, we are done if they give up 3. Done. They don't hit. So I look again. Next segment, I imagine we'll talk into what are the other answers that the Reds can do immediately, and there needs to be moves made right now. Right now.
Then what was spring training for? I agree. That's my thing. It's like I agree with Elliot that you can't go 3 straight games 1-0. I don't care when it is in the season, and just keep running the same lineup out there. That doesn't make any sense. It's the definition of insanity to expect the same 9 guys to go out there and score 10 runs today after the 3 games in a row where they could barely get on base. But you just had, 3 or 4 months in Arizona to figure out who the best guys were for your roster? And now 6 games in, you're just going to pull and reshuffle everything?
Like 5 of them.
Which I guess is just admitting that, hey, we were wrong off the rip, which I think is better than, trying to dribble this out and prove yourself right over the next month and digging yourself in a hole that's too big to get out of. But I have a hard time seeing Terry Francona, wave the white flag in terms of his opening day roster construction.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any way that he believes he was that wrong. So I think we're at least another couple of miserable weeks away from a massive roster shakeup. I think our best chance at this team being better in the near future is you gotta have the guys that are out there play.
People think Nick Krall's a hero. Nick Krall, I don't fully blame Nick Krall. Obviously, he's limited to what the ownership is going to give him to spend. But at the end of the day, he's not the savior here, guys. I mean, he's not. He hasn't been. They still aren't closer to making the playoffs from when David Bell left or from when, from 2020. They're not any closer to the postseason. They've got a decent pitching staff. Yeah, pretty damn good. Fifth in the majors to start this season. They're 2-5. It's not even close. So there's going to be a lot of questions going forward. I'm starting to get more and more frustrated. I'm not ready to call it over yet. We're going to give it a couple more weeks, and if they don't figure something out, and it's just like we know what this is. We've seen this before. We've played this game.
All right, off the bench, presented by UDF. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here. And I saw some comments in the chat. I mean, I don't know why we do this thing where if you criticize Ellie or Matt McClain, it's like, well, you just want to bench him? No, I want him to play better.
Yeah.
I don't know why that has to always be like a hot take. I
think it's because there was such a loud segment of the fan base last year that did.
Yeah.
And it just has poisoned, the brain of those of us that, are a little bit more into baseball where it's, 3 errors, we shouldn't send the guy down to AAA. And that we heard that, day after day, week after week last year, which just drives you insane. So now I think whenever anyone, criticizes Ellie or McClain or those guys, the very few guys that we do believe in, and we even heard it with Hunter for years, that he was going to end up in the bullpen. So, the fact, I think everyone's just on guard with the very few bright spots we have.
And by the way, and to be clear, when you go there were 2 for 23. I said 29 earlier. My apologies. 2 for 23. Much better. 2 for 23 in that 3-game span where you're not getting any hits at all. No production whatsoever. The double-digit strikeouts in that 3-game span between those two. I don't think pointing out and saying that those two need to play better is me being overly critical. I don't think that's me hating on the team. I don't think that means I suck. I mean, I don't know why it has to turn to that. But the bottom line is the reason, I'd say let's pick up with this, because I'm, as weird as this sounds, I'm not as freaked out as some are with this, because the Reds just lost 3 straight by doing something historically bad that hasn't been done since 1960. And the bottom line is we're not even asking the Reds to be great offensively. We're just asking them not to get shut out. You just play, if you have just an average offensive night, you've won 3 straight games at this point. So I'm not completely freaking out yet at this point, just because of what we've seen from the pitching staff. And I think that they deserve more attention to be shown upon them as well. I think that that's key as well. So we'll step away. More Reds talk coming up here around the corner. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing. We'll be right back. All right, we are back off the bench, presented by UDF. Yesterday's take kind of bleeds into today a little bit about my thoughts on the 3 straight losses, 1-0 losses. All the attention should be on the pitching staff. 3 straight games of not scoring a run is overshadowing the fact that this pitching staff just went 3 straight games of holding an opponent, 2 different opponents, to 1 run. I think that you're going to win a lot of games if your pitching staff could do that. But it sounds weird saying that because they just did it 3 straight times and lost 3 straight games. So I understand that people are a little hesitant to dive in and be complimentary of that. And that's fair. But at the same time, for me, I'm not going to panic. I think that if the rotation was average and the bullpen was just okay and the offense isn't scoring runs, then I would be in full-on panic because then I think that this team is just absolutely atrocious. Then I just think that they have so many holes. But the fact that they're a top 5 pitching, they have a top 5 pitching staff in baseball, and obviously in the infancy stages of this, I think they're going to be in position to win a lot of games as long as they're continuing to get this type of production. I'm not even expecting that they hold teams to only 1 run a game moving forward. But again, if you're getting your rotation to at least pitch into that 6th, 7th inning consistently, keeping that bullpen fresh, they're going to have you in position to win a lot of games. The thing is, as bad as the Reds are, the Cubs lead the league in runs per game at about 6.5 runs per game. We're not even asking the Reds to do that. You cut that in half, you've won 3 straight games. You've won 3 straight games at this point, and we'd still be talking about the flaws offensively, no doubt about it. But the bottom line is, moving forward, I think we can still expect this pitching staff to be top-notch. Moving forward, I think we could not expect to see Elliot De La Cruz and McLean be this bad. Even if you get half of their production from the first couple of games of the season, they've won 3 straight. Like it's I don't think it's as doomsday as everyone is saying. It's just a kick in the groin to have this type of record be set so early in the season to set the tone. We talked about the importance of getting off to a hot start in the early stages of March and April, set the tone for the year so you're not digging yourself out of a hole. You're 2-5. You're not in a hole yet, but you don't want to become 5, 6, 7, 8 games under 500. And then trying to dig yourself out from that. Then that becomes problematic for this team that's trying to get healthy and figure some stuff out. I'm just not as down on this. I find this entertaining. I just find this funny. At a certain point, it's not going to be funny anymore. I'm just not hitting the panic button yet. If the Reds were getting, beat up on 7-0, 6-0, 4-0 in 3 straight games, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But they're too good pitching-wise for me to hit the panic button as of now, especially so early into the season.
That's the thing as much as everyone is saying, well, we were right about the outfield, the optimists were right about the pitching staff. So it does put you in a spot where you're going to be in the mix to win all these games. And we've played 3 straight historically bad games offensively.
Yeah.
And we've been alive at the 27th out. So, the fact that in the worst stretch that we can have offensively probably this year, then, I don't understand, necessarily why it would be the end of the world, but I do also think it's hard to watch this happen with no reinforcements really on the way and think there's going to be some kind of massive change. I do think it's kind of funny how everyone, everyone around here is saying, like, the pitching staff is going to have to carry us all the way through, but they can be the best pitching staff in baseball and will still lose. So I guess I don't understand why there's still optimism that this team will figure it out. Because we've seen 3 straight games them get it to exactly the type of game they have to play to win, and they haven't been able to win.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and give you a ton of positivity. Here's one I will give you from Bryce Spalding. The 2013 Indians started 5-10. Tito's first 15 games before going on and winning 92 games. Got shut out twice and held to 3 or less runs in 10 out of those 15 games to start that season. This isn't something new for the coaching staff or for Terry Francona. If you want to take that as a positive, take that as a positive. The Reds lineup, I'd argue, isn't maybe a 92 win team, but to each their own. Maybe they're able to win 90, and I just don't know anything. So that's a very real possibility.
All right.
As far as what the answers are going to be, and as far as what Justin kind of brought up last segment, nobody's talking about, Ellie's not doing enough, Matt's not doing enough. We're talking about that they have to do more. Whatever you think they have to do more because the rest of the lineup doesn't contribute at all. So that's what you're saying. And I think that's a fair point. Nobody in this room right now is bashing on Elliot De La Cruz. Nobody's bashing on Matt McLean. All we're saying is if you want this team to win games, they're going to have to start going 4 for 5 in a night. They're going to have to hit a home run every night, a double every night, a triple every night. They're going to have to contribute in ways beyond our expectations because the rest of the lineup we know is not capable of it.
Right.
Jake Fraley shouldn't be on this team right now. Shouldn't be on the team.
How many teams would he be on?
Very little. TJ Friedel, Jacob showed me this stat, and I saw it again last night. His sprint speed is like 0.
He's running like a catcher.
We have Spencer
That's your
Steer, who
leadoff guy.
again, and we have to keep making the point about Spencer Steer, a guy who I actually really, really like. Maybe the only guy who really, really likes him, as far as I know in this office. He should be nowhere near a baseball diamond. Should be nowhere near it. But the Reds have to have him because there's no other better options. Which leads me to my next point. There are a couple better options. I was not a Noelvi Marte guy coming into this year. He had broken my trust. He didn't play good last season. He didn't play good in winter ball, didn't play good in the spring. Well, he's playing good right now, and to be quite honest, that's all I need to see. He's hitting .417 with a .480 slug, a 1.1 OPS. Noelvi Marte, welcome to the big leagues. You're coming back. Because there's no reason, none, for Jacob Hurtubise and Blake Dunn to be occupying roster spots. No reason for Spencer Steer to be occupying roster spots when we got guys down in AAA hitting 400. Will Benson, another guy who I didn't have a lot of hope coming in this season. I predicted he'd be to start the year in AAA. I expected he probably wouldn't be on the big leagues a ton. Wrong. He's hitting 400 down in Louisville. 407 OBP, a 1.13 OPS. Will Benson, I will drive Will Benson to Milwaukee. We'll take a group trip, and we'll pick up whoever in Louisville wants to play. Whoever's hitting above 300 in Louisville, come with us. We're going to the bigs. And that's what we'll do. We'll pick them up, and we'll drive them to Milwaukee. There is no reason, and I get Jacob's point. Oh, well, you don't do spring training and then send everybody down a week later.
That's not my point. I just think that's what's going to happen.
No, and by the way, that's a realistic point. That's a fair point. But we are too far. We are too far into losing 3 straight 1-0 games to not have immediate answers ready and available. Will Benson needs to be on the first flight to Milwaukee now. Now. There is no reason for these guys not to be up, and we continue to sit here and act like our lineup, who, by the way, is hitting, I believe, 100? 100 in the last 3 games? You cannot let that happen. And we can sit here and say it's going to get better. The sun will come out tomorrow. It's going to get better, guys. It's only a slump. No team's ever gone on an offensive slump before. No, literally no team has ever done it. No, 6 teams. What was the one team I said? I don't even know. What was the name of it? I'm going to go back and look at the one team that I said. Because
St. Louis Bass or something?
There was the 1908 Brooklyn Super Bass.
Yeah.
You've got company.
No team goes on offensive slump. The 1908 Brooklyn Super Bass. They joined the 2025 Cincinnati Reds as 2 of the 6 teams to ever go on this type of slump. And people want to tell me you're not worried? The 1908 Brooklyn Super Bass, if that's even what they're called. Yeah, I'm freaking out. I'm a little worried. It's okay to hit a panic button when something that's never been done before happens. The season isn't over. But my God, if you're not worried, you're living under a rock.
I don't know how the people saying the season is over are the crazy ones. That seems to me like a much more logical take than the people saying 3 straight 1-0 losses, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can watch this team so far this season, much less over the last 20-plus years, and think that we're going to be fine. They've never been fine.
Yeah.
And right now, it's worse than it's ever been in a 3-game stretch. So, yeah, I'm not all sunshine and rainbows about the 2025 Reds. I don't think it's going to be fine. There's going to have to be some serious changes to get back in the mix. So we'll see what happens, but we're gonna need something to change pretty drastically if everything's going to be fine.
Have you guys seen what old Jonathan India is doing over with Kansas City?
I have.
Fun stuff.
In left field.
Yep. Did the little tease here, but did the Reds, Elliot, make a mistake moving on from Jonathan India? We'll discuss when we come back off the bench. More next. Off the bench, Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing. The show presented by UDF. If you are hanging out with us on YouTube, we appreciate you. If you could, please give the stream a like to help grow the show. We have seen major growth in the show, especially over the last couple of months, and that's because you guys are willing to tune in and hang out with us. So we appreciate that. Also, any sponsors, like the one thing we've talked about too is just putting it out there. Anyone out there that owns a business or knows someone that owns a business that would like to jump on as a sponsor of the show, the doors are open, especially if you go follow us on X, Chatterbox Sports on X. You're able to reach out there. I know we had put a little thing out last week about that, or earlier in the week regarding that. So again, we're opening the door to new sponsors. We appreciate that. We want to continue to help grow the show, and you guys can help us do that as well. So like the stream below. If you're a business owner and want to jump on as a sponsor, you're more than welcome to reach out, and we would love to kind of get with you guys and give you more information of how you could do that and let us help you grow your business. So please take advantage of those opportunities, and we do appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out. But we are back. Doom and gloom. It's rainy. It's cloudy. It's just blah outside. The Reds are playing some of their worst baseball so early in the season. Jake and I were joking earlier, Elliot. I was like, man, just every year I tell the Reds, just get me into May. End of April, you get me into mid-May, just with some interest or whatever. Just like give me a couple months. They haven't even given us a couple weeks. They've almost put us out of our misery just weeks in. It's a couple series. This is the third series of the season, but nonetheless. So I threw it out there a little bit ago. I kind of tossed out Jonathan India's name, and we might have touched on this a little bit yesterday, but Jonathan India to me is the Joe Mixon for the Reds right now, where Joe Mixon, the Bengals were right to move on from Joe Mixon. I think it made all the sense in the world to move on from Joe Mixon. But the problem is when the Bengals got off to a slow start and nothing seemed to be going well outside of Joe Burrow in the passing game. The run game, injury riddled early on too. The defense was bad. And then what would happen after a loss for the Bengals? Oh, let's look over and see what Joe Mixon's doing. And, oh, look, he just ran for 120 and 2 touchdowns. Man, Cincinnati, I bet you wish you still had you had him. And you weren't getting those results. So, the Bengals made the right decision, but because of their slow start, it made them vulnerable to criticisms, especially when Joe Mixon was popping off so early in the season. And he had a great year for the Texans, obviously. But the Bengals were vulnerable to those criticisms and question marks because of that. The Reds are in a very similar boat, especially when you get shut out for 3 straight games and you lose games 1-0 3 straight times. You're vulnerable to all the criticisms of the world. But then you go out, and I know Jonathan India was an interesting piece because I think the fan base was split. I think a lot of people, I was in the middle on it, a lot of people understood why the Reds needed to move on from him. Others were adamant you can't move on from a guy with that type of leadership out of the clubhouse, especially with the team that's still relatively young, former Rookie of the Year. Okay, you have a deep middle infield, find a way, get it done. The Reds move on from him. They bring in Brady Singer. Reds are off to a 2-5 start. They can't score runs. They have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. Man, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to have a guy that is consistently putting the bat on the ball, putting the ball in play, driving in runs, and just creating havoc on the base paths. And that is what Jonathan India has done for the Kansas City Royals. He has at least one hit in every single game, has multiple extra base hits, and here's the kicker. He has played in multiple games in left field. He's played in the outfield multiple times. And the big talking point was, well, Jonathan India will not play in the outfield if he is with the Cincinnati Reds, so you're stuck to only using him in the middle infield, but you're backlogged there right now, trying to figure out Noelvi Marte. Obviously, Ellie's at short. Obviously, McClain's your second baseman. Like, what are you going to do with Jonathan India? I was more in the camp of find a way to get it done. The outfield's bad. You find a way to keep Jonathan India in the lineup, put him in the outfield, figure it out from there. Is he a good outfielder? I don't know. Figure it out. That was kind of where I was towards the tail end of last season. Still think the Reds were justified in moving on from him. But because of the slow start and because of his hot start, and to cap it off where he's playing the majority of these games right now defensively, it has made the Reds vulnerable to all of us having to question, did the Reds make the right decision moving on from Jonathan India? Now, you could say, well, yes, look at what they got in return. Now, it's only been one start, but Brady Singer was phenomenal. I thought outside of Hunter Green, the first time through the rotation, I think he was the second most impressive of all the pitchers that we've seen up until this point, as far as that goes. But that's the point. The deepest part of the Cincinnati Reds is their pitching. The deepest part of the Reds is their rotation at this point. We're going to talk about, when Andrew Abbott comes back in 2 weeks, and we touched on it yesterday. When Andrew Abbott comes back, what are you doing with that rotation? Who are you bumping? Are you bumping anybody? Are you just going to make it a 6-man rotation? What are you going to do? Because everyone is pitching lights out. So it's not as if you didn't get a good return for Jonathan India. You got a hell of a return. I think Brady Singer's phenomenal. But at the same time, if you take Brady Singer off this roster, I don't think the Reds are missing a beat at this point. I think the Reds' strength is still their starting pitching, and you would still have Jonathan India. Hopefully you would have used him in the outfield, and boom, now a lot of problems are solved. That's not how this was going to go down. I understand a lot of the criticisms of it. I also understand those who say he still should be a Red right now in the outfield. Look how much he would have helped. When the Reds moved on from him at that time, you didn't know that the injury bug was going to plague this team, although you should expect it at this point. But for right now, the Reds, they've earned the criticism. They deserve the criticism because they opened the door when you can't score runs, your outfield stinks, and then the guy that you traded away because you said you didn't want him anymore is balling out with the Kansas City Royals, has had a hit in every game, multiple extra base hits, playing well in left field and the outfield. Yeah, I think it's fair to criticize and question the Reds' decision-making, but I can also say this is a horrible take. I'm in the middle, because I think both decisions were justified. If you kept him, justified. Moving on from him, justified. I usually don't like taking that route, but that's kind of how I feel about this Jonathan India. Jonathan India is Joe Mixon for the Cincinnati Reds, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's the perfect comparison because both teams made the right decision to move on from him. I think that's exactly what it comes down to. I mean, what did we just spend the whole first Reds segment talking about here? How much we need from Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz to drive this team. And the whole chat, as soon as you brought this up, started to argue, well, Brady Singer looked great. Well, Jonathan India looks great. It's not a one-for-one trade. And obviously, that's the first thing you look at is what the return is there. But it also allows you to play Matt McClain at second base every day. And I know India has played left field a lot for the Royals, but that was the conversation topic in Cincinnati when he was here. Will you move off second base? And it seemed hesitant at best, rumors of a full no. So if he wasn't willing to move off second base and he was going to, kind of block Matt McClain there, and then you have to play someone at third, I also think something else that has to be incorporated in this trade is the addition of Gavin Lux. I think if you have Jonathan India on this team as the bench piece, as the depth piece behind that middle infield of Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain, you're not going out to get Gavin Lux. I think Gavin Lux is the Jonathan India replacement. I think they're going to do basically the same thing for the Reds this season in terms of filling in at third, in the outfield, in the middle infield when those guys need a break. And then you still add Brady Singer. So I think this is a resounding yes in terms of it being a great move for the Reds. Brady Singer, the only player in this rotation that has gone over 150 innings in a Major League Baseball season. That means something. Having that kind of security, we talk about how this team needs to avoid injuries to be kept competitive at all year long. Well, Brady Singer's done that. He's shown you the longevity that none of the rest of our starters have shown. So I think adding something like that to a position of strength for this team and then still going out and filling that Jonathan India hole with a Gavin Lux, keeping Santiago Espinal around on an extension to be that, outfield and infield flex player off the bench. I think they've done a good job of filling that India role while also getting a great return for him. There's zero reservations in my mind that this was a good move.
Here's the thing about the Jonathan India situation. I would say that Jonathan India, the front office, everybody was about tired of talking about it, and eventually you just have to move on from somebody. It's just amicably, it was the best decision for everybody involved. India didn't want to be here any longer because the front office probably didn't want him here any longer.
How could you want to be here when every day you turn around and hear your name in trade?
And the fans certainly didn't want him here anymore. So it was a good move to get rid of Jonathan India. It was a great move to bring Brady Singer in, who I think is going to be a solid pitcher for the Reds this season. I don't look back at that trade, and be like, oh, what if Jonathan India still doesn't fix the problems that the Reds have? Jonathan India, Gavin Lux are one and the same when it comes to offense. So I'm not going to be shocked, if Jonathan India wasn't able to carry the weight of the Reds lineup either. So,
are you talking like big picture?
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's the Joe Mixon effect because it's the right now that's made them vulnerable to that. But, big picture, numbers-wise, it's all going to if we have this conversation 2 months from now, it's probably not going to have the same tone. But right now, it's like, man, I would kill for that outfielder that's getting a hit in every single game and multiple extra base hits and driving in runs. But the probability of him doing that consistently throughout, we've been a part of that Jonathan India roller coaster before. He's just on the up right now. We're waiting for the crash. We're waiting for the drop. But our luck, it won't come. He'll be an MVP candidate for the damn Royals this year.
I mean, he's hitting 320, 393 OBP. I mean, he's doing everything he needs to do. In Kansas City, I thought it would be a good fit for him in Kansas City, and I'm happy it's working out for him. The Reds have to focus on who they've got, and who they got is CES, who's hitting, I believe, 190 on the year. Gavin Lux, he's hitting 200. Jameer, 200. TJ Friedel, 208. 222 for Matt McClain. And Ellie, 286. So that's not even counting the guys that we know are going to be bad. It's been a disaster. It's been a disaster, and there's no point on harping on the past. You just got to look onward. Look onward. You got 3 more games with the Brewers. The Reds have lost 32 consecutive series when losing the first game of that series. So this will most likely be 33 in a row because I have a hard time believing the Reds are going to win 2, let alone 3 games back to back to back. So good luck, I guess. Good luck. Here we go tonight. Optimistic.
Nick Martinez on the mound tonight. And then, of course, you get Brady Singer. And then Carson Spiers to close it out. I said this on my show yesterday. I'm excited to see all these pitchers. I want to see if this rotation can keep it going. I'm fingers crossed. I think that they can. I hope so. The guy I'm most intrigued by is Carson Spiers because, like, if he pitches lights out on Sunday, I think that creates a very interesting, a good dilemma moving forward of, like, what you do when you get Andrew Abbott back. I know we touched on this lightly yesterday, but if Carson Spiers goes out there and just has another performance like he did in his first go-round, these are good problems to have. We touched on it yesterday. Andrew Abbott comes back. What do? You know, you have Nick Martinez, who's a Swiss Army knife. You're paying him a lot of money, so you expect him to stay in that rotation. But at the same time, if you have 6 guys for 5 spots, do you extend it to a 6-man rotation? What do you do? These are good problems to have. My big takeaway for the final 3 games of this series, the Reds, knock on wood, are not going to get shut out for the next 3 games. I think that they're going to put runs up. I think that you're still going to get good quality starts from your starting pitching. And the bullpen, we expect to continue to do what they've been doing as of late as well. I actually think the Reds, I think it's going to take, honestly, I think right now, once that first run comes in, guys, I feel like that's when it's going to start not rolling and saying averaging 6 runs a game. But I feel like everything's so mental right now. It's so mental right now at the plate. And I think everyone is pressing at the plate right now. Everyone feels the pressure. And I think it's even worse when you get runners on in scoring position because I think you feel it, oh, no, we can't strand these guys. If we finally have an opportunity here, we can't leave runners stranded. And then you see bad swings and you're just seeing overly aggressive attempts at the plate. So I think that first run that comes in is going to finally take that pressure off the shoulders of these guys, and then going back to what you were getting the first 4 games of the season offensively with what we've seen from the pitching staff the last 3, I still think they have a shot to turn this around, but you can't not let this snowball into 5, 6, 7 games. I'm very intrigued by the next 3 against the Brewers.
We're just about 3-4 months early, but this is the conversation we had at the end of last season all together in this room. If the pitching does slow down, if it does catch up to them, if they return to league average before the bats return to league average, man, that's going to get rough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got to sit here and pray that these bats wake up 1 through 9 because if not, there is a point in time coming in this Red season where the pitching staff is not going to allow 1 run in 3 straight games. It's coming. That's how baseball works.
Maybe tonight.
And hopefully when that time does come and the pitching staff isn't nails, hopefully we're able to get someone across the plate because that's when it gets really ugly. We can talk about historic losses, 1-0, as much as we want, and that hurts, and it's painful to watch, and it's borderline unwatchable. But you're still in the game until the 9th inning. There's a world here where we end this series in Milwaukee losing games 10-12 to nothing. This pitching staff has to stay elite and give these bats a chance to catch up. And if that means another 1-0 loss, being the first team ever in MLB history to get 4 in a row, then I'd rather take that than an 8-0 loss. So, I mean, let's hope the pitching staff stays dialed in because if not, this is going to get really, really tough really quick.
I'll take the 8-0 loss. I'm going to be honest. I'll take 8-0. I'll take 20-0. I don't care. 1-0 losses are inexcusable. To have one side of the team be so electric and to have the other side be so terrible at the same time. It's you talk about it's a mental game for the hitters, Justin. It's a mental game for everybody right now in there because eventually pitchers aren't going to show up anymore if they know there's no help coming. When you give up one run as a starting pitcher, usually that's like, all right, that's just starting pitch. You give 1 run a game for every start, you had a hell of a season, maybe the best season ever.
Yeah.
But eventually it's like if Nick Lodolo goes 5 innings, he gives up 1 run, it's like, all right, well now we're done. I lost it for us. Because I couldn't hold him to 0. Because our offense needs a magic runner on second base and extras to bunt 2 guys or to bunt him over twice and get him home. Like that's the only way the Reds are scoring at this point. You got to get a guy on second and just bunt twice.
And their best bunter runs like a catcher.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm out of optimism. I tried to be optimistic, Elliot. Lasted 7 games. So
We'll always have those 14 runs for Monday.
we will. We will have 14 runs for Monday.
We'll always have those.
I might go back and listen to that show, what I said, because I take it all back. Any nice thing I said in that show, take it all back.
Yeah, I think I said the Reds are hitting now.
Take it back.
Couldn't have been more wrong.
Your fault.
Yeah, couldn't
Take
have
it
been more
back.
wrong.
You said a few moments ago you'd rather have the 7-0, 6-0
Yeah, it's not close.
losses. But 6 and 7-0 losses means that now you have a team that can't hit and a team that can't pitch now. The reason I'm still holding on to hope is the fact that what we can't get over is the fact that we got shut out for 3 straight games, and that is so overshadowing what we're getting from pitching. And I do not expect to only give up 1 run the rest of the season. However, it just seems like we're closer than you think because of how dominant pitching has been. I think the message that a 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 loss in 3 straight games would send to everybody is, oh, they can't hit and they can't pitch. I would feel worse about that, and I'm flip-flopping because yesterday I said, man, I could handle a 6 and a 7-0 back-to-back, but 3 straight ones of these, of 3 straight games have only given up 1 run. To me, it just says you got one of the most important sides down, pitching. Pitching has been almost impossible for this team to clamp down on. They seem to have that. I just think they're closer than we think, as silly and ridiculous as that sounds. I would not want the 6 and 7-0 because then that means they're bad at everything.
But
4-9 innings, I'm with you. Watching the game tonight, I'm with you. I think it's much easier to swallow that. But when you wake up the next morning, at least you can hold on.
Yeah, but here's the issue. That brilliant logic is why we don't have any upgrades to our offense. We're so close. We're right there. We're inches away. Our pitching staff's there. All we need is just one of our guys to come up and play good. We just need some of them to be healthy. We won't upgrade the offense at all. They're just so close. Oh, they're so close. They're not close. The offense is terrible. I'd rather lose 9-0 and have Nick Krall say, all right, maybe we got a problem here. In his mind, I don't think he thinks there's a problem. Oh, well, CES is hurt. He got hit in the wrist the other day. Oh, well, Spencer Steer can't use his arms. It's Tyler Stevenson. We still don't know anything about that. Who knows? Months away. We'll blame it on injuries. We're just going to blame it on the injuries. Next year, they're going to be healthy for sure. That's when they're going to be real healthy, next year. They'll be close next year. So when you keep saying they're close, that means the front office doesn't have to do anything. They just think, all right, well, we can't lose one run deficit games every week, right? That's not going to continue, right? Oh, well, how about 3 in a row in the worst possible way? So no, I don't want to lose 1-0 if you're going to lose. I want to lose 25-0.
So you want to be bad.
Yeah, because being bad, you're losing in both scenarios. I'm not going to give Nick Krall the credit for being close. Oh, you almost had it. But
isn't he?
No, he's not close. He's not close, and that's where the delusion sets in. This team isn't close, man. It's not. It's not close. And the more we delude ourselves and say it's close, the harder this season's going to be for everybody.
Fair enough. It's a downtime for everyone. Either way. All right, Off the Bench presented by UDF. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Give the stream a like. Give it that like there.
Yeah, that speech should give you fired up. Give it a like. Get a like.
Yes. Anything else on the Reds before we close it out? I think,
Yeah, we didn't do our score predictions yet.
Ooh,
let's take a guess on what your score prediction is going to be.
I'm going to
guess 1-0.
I'm going to say Brewers 1-0. What's yours?
I think that the Reds win 5-3, and I think that they score 2 runs in the first inning. I think that they get this monkey off their back, bam, right off the bat.
I'm going to take 1-0 Reds.
Ooh, I like it.
Flip the script.
I like
the
that.
script.
I like that.
I see your script, and I flip it.
We'll flip it.
Flip it.
That's a reverse.
All right, so one more time because we got to go post these because we've come close. This is back-to-back days where we've had someone predict 1-0 loss for the Reds, but I'm not doing that. I'm not predicting them like I did yesterday to lose 1-0. A 5-3 win, 2 runs in the first inning. Reds set the tone early. They remind people we're close.
1-0 Red Legs. Top of the 7th Ellie solo home run.
I like that.
All right. So one more time. 5-3, you said?
1-0 Reds.
1-0 Reds. And what'd you have?
1-0 Brewers.
There we go.
Optimism.
We should probably do Saturday and Sunday too, because we're not going to be here.
Do you want to just go next too?
Yeah, Saturday I'll take the Brewers 1-0, and then on Sunday, you guessed it, I'll go Brewers 1-0.
I love that.
I'm not going to be like, I'm for that.
Yeah.
I don't want the losses, but I mean, that'd be something. That's memorable. If you're going to be bad, be historically bad. Don't just half-ass being bad.
If we're not gonna score runs tonight, I would like us to not score runs in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Also, divisional opponent, so it'd be nice, to get some wins.
Big time series.
It'd be nice to get some wins, Just
what if we win the next 3?
Just get home, return home. We got the Pirates coming up around the corner.
What if I win the lottery?
I mean,
same odds basically as straight 0-1 losses.
It is.
All right, off the bench presented by UDF. Step away for a few moments. What are we going to throw against the wall? What we got? We'll jump into the Bengals.
Go optimism and go the Bengals are leaving Cincinnati.
There we go. Where are they going? Where are you going to go? Where are they going to go? We'll be right back. Trace and Kirby with Chatterbox Reds, has to be tough. I mean, 162 game season. You got to crack that mic, win or lose. And there's been a lot of losses early. We're down in the dumps because the Reds are, playing poorly. There's one guy that works here that is just on cloud 9. His first name starts with an R, last name starts with an M. Oh, he's thoroughly enjoying this. Shout out to Reed. Reed is just absolutely enjoying this. Last night, and people say he doesn't give opinions on the Reds. He was very complimentary of the Reds lineup last night. In fact, he said last night's lineup was his favorite Reds lineup of all time. So I'm glad he's enjoying this season. Shout out to Reed.
It's never good during baseball season when Reed's having fun. I think that's the main takeaway is it's never a positive when Reed's having fun in baseball season for Cincinnati.
Yeah. He got me on my Bearcats this year.
He did.
He's going to get me on my Reds.
But you won the...
We're on the same side on the Bengals, I guess.
You won the shootout.
I did win the shootout. At what cost?
At what cost?
You won the shootout. What did it cost? Everything.
Well, if you lost, you may not have been good enough to, qualify for the crown. So we never would have been able to do this.
True.
I'm just saying. But
the historic crown, one of the world's great gifts to sports fans.
A tradition unlike any other.
It is. It is a tradition like any other.
Like any other? Nice.
So yesterday, I think towards the end of the show is when the comments from Katie Blackburn came out. Nothing. I'm bored with the Trey Hendrickson thing. My God, just make a decision. Just trade him or sign him. I am so over the Trey Hendrickson thing. I don't know why I never got bored with the T. Higgins thing. I found that fascinating because I saw that being a train wreck of a finale because an extension leads to a lot of troublesome roster construction issues that they're going to have moving forward. For some teams, it won't be. For the Bengals, it definitely will be. Or if they traded him, it would have led to World War III with everyone just losing their mind. So this one's not as interesting, and I don't know why. Because I think if you would have categorized Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, I think Trey's the second most important player of those three. And yet, everyone just seems to be like, yeah, Trey, just shut up. Come on, just sign that, accept it, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the comments that we were talking as much about yesterday because, well, Katie Blackburn, who doesn't say many things, said quite a lot lately and has everyone's attention because she got a chance to be Phil Castellini yesterday. The Bengals had their version of where you're going to go, except they're not really asking where are we going to go. She just let everyone know we can go anywhere we want. We can go here. We can go there. We can go over here. They have options. Options are a good thing, or are they?
Yeah, no, certainly not what you want to hear as a fan of a team, that they could be looking to move from their current stadium place. But it does seem, the more and more you read into it and the context around the quote and everything along those lines, obviously everyone running with the Bengals are leaving Cincinnati. I saw DraftKings posted a graphic this morning. Where are they going? San Diego, St. Louis, Toronto?
I'd be all in on San Diego.
I think if you read through what she's saying here, she's saying they can go anywhere they want, like Mason or Covington. Like, I don't think that there's an option for the Bengals to leave the greater Cincinnati area. I think there is a somewhat realistic avenue that they move away from downtown. I wouldn't bet on it. I certainly still think it's heavily favored that the Bengals are playing in Paycor for a long time, hopefully a renovated version soon enough. But something that's important that conveniently has been brushed under the rug for the last 24 hours or so when discussing this was a second Katie Blackburn quote that's not quite as fun for the people outside of Cincinnati. So I'll go ahead and share this one as well. We love where we're at right now. I'm a big proponent of being downtown. I think it's the best thing for the city. The location of the stadium right now is great. That is the second part of the Katie Blackburn quote. So they're going to work through.
Who's your source?
My source is Ben Baby of ESPN, the Bengals beat reporter. So
he's not real.
Fingers crossed that's the direction that we're leaning in instead of moving away from Cincinnati. I wouldn't be all doom and gloom if the Bengals end up in a suburb or end up in Covington. I know a lot of fans would be more upset than I think I would be. My main focus is that I can get to a Bengals game in under half hour, under an hour or so. If that means they move to a suburb for a great stadium, then heck, I'll be all in. We got to figure out how all that stuff works with money and everything along those lines. I know the Browns are in the process of potentially getting a lot of money from the Ohio taxpayers for their new stadium, so maybe the Bengals could be in a realm of doing something similar in terms of doing that. But as I think most people in this room would say, billionaire owners pay for your own stadium wouldn't be a bad thing. So maybe Mike Brown doesn't want to pay any players; he'll pony up and pay for a new stadium. But I think this is a lot of freaking out about not a whole lot. I don't think there's really any chance that the Bengals leave Cincinnati. Maybe that comes back to bite me in the butt here in a couple years, but they have a chance at the end of July to extend this lease by 2 more years. I expect them to accept that by the time we get there. This is putting pressure on the city. This is putting pressure on taxpayers. That's all it is. It's the same as Trey Hendrickson going on Pat McAfee. It's the same as Joe Burrow's Super Bowl week media tour. You have a chance in negotiations to make your position known, put a little pressure on the other side. And that's exactly what Katie Blackburn's doing. So does it stink for Bengals fans to have to hear all this during an offseason where you finally got 2 guys extended that are going to be here for a long time, be a fun core for this team? And it should be a summer of excitement, a summer of looking forward. And now we're spending probably the next month or so talking about the Bengals potentially leaving downtown Cincinnati. So not a great place to be, but I do think it's a general overreaction by a lot of people.
I don't think this story's anything. The quote obviously didn't look good, but that's that was what a headline quote does. It's meant to make noise, and that's what she did. So good job. The Bengals aren't going to go anywhere. I have a hard time believing that's the case. I don't think they would allow that. I don't think they would allow that media and fan response if they were to move this team out of town. It would crush them, I'd imagine. And how much can a billionaire really be crushed by words? But I think that does play into it a little bit. I don't think the Bengals are leaving. I don't know what the plan is with the tax. I don't know nearly enough about this situation to speak on it. But I will say, when I close my eyes at night, I can't picture the Cincinnati Bengals not being in Cincinnati. It doesn't make much sense to me. So Bengals are going to be here. That quote's nonsense. But if it's real, let's go win a Super Bowl this year, so it won't matter.
Yeah, something that is important to note every time it comes up that an Ohio sports team could potentially be leaving Ohio, the Modell law is a thing. It is on the books. It's been a law enacted in Ohio since 1996 after the Browns picked up in the middle of the night and left Cleveland, that says that any professional sports team playing in a tax-supported stadium, which the Bengals certainly are in Paycor Stadium, has to give an opportunity for the owners to sell to owners that want to keep the team in Ohio if they do want to move. So the Brown family would be forced to look for an option to keep the team here, selling it to the city or to local investors in order to keep the Bengals in Ohio if that is the route they wanted to go. Is there a way that the NFL could help them work around that? I'm sure there is. but at least just reading the letter of the law, it is an uphill battle for the Bengals to get out of Cincinnati. I don't know if that necessarily applies to a Covington or a Newport, something that's essentially Cincinnati. Maybe they could make somewhat of an exception for that, but in order for the Bengals to get outside of the greater Cincinnati area, it would be pretty difficult, it seems, in terms of the legal aspects of it. I do think another thing to think about when you're talking about the Bengals potentially leaving, where are they going domestically? I mean, the top 2 cities that are listed for where they could potentially end up in the United States of America just lost their teams because they couldn't fund a stadium and they couldn't fill it when it was funded. So you think they're just going to send the Bengals with maybe the most marketable offensive core to St. Louis, Missouri? I'm not buying it. I think the only option would be Canada. Toronto is a pretty big market, but that's so close to Buffalo that I would be shocked if they went that route. Maybe Austin, but that's between Dallas and Houston. How much new viewership does that bring you? So unless you're sending the Bengals over to London, I don't think there's a ton of great options for relocation or expansion when you're talking about future teams in the NFL. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to have this worked out and have them stay in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I saw Mouse Cop said the Tijuana Bengals.
The Tijuana Bengals would be fun.
It'd be fun.
I mean, have a lot of fun there. Just saying. But
on the DraftKings graphic, they had Columbus listed as well. So when Cincinnati doesn't quite cut it for market value, they'll just move it on up to Columbus.
I mean, Columbus, I could see that working. I
don't have any other football teams up there.
So every reason that you said they would not be good to move is what makes them alluring to move.
Yeah.
Because the NFL, is that what you said?
Well, they need a city.
Oh, and by the way, I don't want the Bengals. Look, as much as I'm not a fan of the Bengals, I benefit a lot from the Cincinnati Bengals doing a sports talk shows in this region. So I don't want them going anywhere either. Just to clarify that, because I know where this is going. So
yeah, no. What I was saying was, I think I'd be more scared about my team leaving for St. Louis or San Diego if I was a Jaguars fan. Like I don't think they're sticking Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in St. Louis, Missouri. That's my thing. Like if Vegas was still open, I'd be worried about this Bengals move because how much do they gain from having this core in Las Vegas, Nevada instead of Cincinnati, Ohio? That's certainly a level of concern for me. But I don't think they're putting some of their most marketable stars in smaller markets than Cincinnati.
No, I did see another tweet too that said Katie just needs to accept the numbers and be happy with the numbers. At a certain point,
really good.
Use her quote against her. As far as that's concerned. But off the bench, presented by UDF, Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing, with you here again. We only have a couple minutes left, at least on the radio side of things. But the draft. By the way, do you feel like momentum on the draft talk is just kind of stalled? I think the Bengals are boring when it comes to the draft. You know what they need. You know the options. I don't think there's any drama there. I don't think you may be wondering who they take, but do the possibilities of bad names at 17 outweigh the possibilities of good? Like it's very difficult for them to mess this up. And do you agree?
I think the Bengals have put themselves in the definition of a nightmare spot for the draft. And it's where you only have 6 picks. They obviously traded their 7th-round pick last year for Khalil Herbert, the backup running back that I think fumbled twice. You only have 6 picks to address every need you had going into the offseason. Bengals needed an edge rusher. They didn't get it in free agency. Obviously brought Joseph Osai back, but losing Sam Hubbard, you didn't add anything to that room. You bring in TJ Slayton, the run stopper from Green Bay. He doesn't add any pass rush juice to that defensive line. So the Bengals didn't address that. They also signed Lucas Patrick, who's a depth guard at best. There's no chance that he should be your starter going into week 1 if you're going to look fans in the eye and tell them you're a Super Bowl contender. So they didn't address guard. Cody Ford and Lucas Patrick are our starting guards right now, unless you think Cordell Volson's going to run it back. So they have to draft a guard that they believe in starting week 1 in the draft. They have to address the pass rush in the draft. That's 2 of your picks right there. And if you need them to start week 1, those have to be 2 very high picks.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my concern lies for the Bengals. Do I think there's going to be great players on the board at 17 and at 49? Absolutely. Are the Bengals going to have to reach for a guard or an edge rusher if those great players don't play those positions? Yeah. So if we're sitting at 17 and there's great safeties, say Nike Minwori from South Carolina or Malachi Starks fall all the way down, Tyler Warren, Ashton Jeanty, guys we talked about on the offensive side of the ball over the last few months, fall all the way down, those guys are off the Bengals board now. You have to do what I said was the nightmare move at the beginning of the draft season. You have to reach for that 5th best edge rusher, that 3rd best guard, because you have to hope it works week 1 because you didn't do anything in free agency to address those needs. So this is, in my opinion, the worst way to go about the draft because you leave yourself the least amount of wiggle room possible.
And you can't. And if there was finality with the Trey Hendrickson drama, you wouldn't have to reach on a pass rusher. You would just probably eat that for right now.
Right.
And then take best player available, so you make sure you get an impact player there with that first-round pick. And maybe not. Maybe even if you had a deal done with Trey, you still. But I think in their heads, deal or no deal, there is a deal. He just play on the current deal. Right. So that's how they're going to operate there. But, the draft, I mean, it's already April. So, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to that coming up here in a few weeks. But the Bengals are in that weird little spot. As far as that goes, I don't think you're going to get like a significant impact player there unless they choose to go best player available. Yeah. And as you mentioned, they'd have to reach for a pass rusher, and they have to address guard.
Maybe you get lucky. Well. Look, I hate Jackson Dart. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. There is nobody that wants him drafted in the top 16 more than I do. We need wide receivers. We need quarterbacks to go in the top 16 picks. Just keep those big guys falling down to 17. Reach on skill. Reach on Ashton GT. Hell, let's get a Marion Hampton up in the top 16. Get all these skill players up there so we get a better chance at 17. So I think that's the biggest thing Bengals fans are rooting for on draft night is every pick ahead of them not being an edge rusher.
Final four. I know that you hate it. Literally the four best teams in the country. This is exactly what you want. You want the not Elliot, but the four best teams in the country are going head-to-head. I know we've joked about that throughout the week, but Duke and Houston and obviously Florida and Auburn, a hell of a Final Four. That's happening tomorrow night. National championship game coming up on Monday. Which of those matchups are you most intrigued by? Who do you think is going to be playing Monday night in the title?
Houston-Duke is the one I'm very, very excited for. I think that Duke is going to win and cover. But it would not surprise me if Houston hangs tough. And I do think the winner of that game wins the championship. I think both of those teams are solid. Houston, if the defensive team can win, we haven't seen a really solid, elite defensive team win since when Virginia won it. Yeah. So this would be a testament to how important that style of basketball is in today's game. Or you go by Duke, and it's the old mantra: we'll just get NBA players and we'll just smoke you anyway. When you got 3 NBA picks out of your starting 5, so it's
3 top 10 picks.
3 top 10 picks and your starting 5. That game's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be can Houston slow down Duke and can Duke somehow overcome that defense? I don't know. It's going to be fun though. The other game interests me less because I do think those two teams are significantly worse than the other two. But saying that, I think Auburn, lost steam heading into this tournament.
For sure.
And everybody kind of was like, "Oh, Auburn's going to lose." Jacob told me. My biggest mistake is listening to Jacob.
You're right.
About anything about Auburn. Because I had them getting eliminated in the second round of my bracket. I think Auburn's really, really good. I wouldn't shock me at all if the best player in the country leads Auburn to a championship and wins a championship. Wouldn't shock me if that was the case. I'd be a little bit shocked if Florida won it, but Florida's damn good too. So I'm more excited about Duke Houston, but I'm going to probably cheer for Auburn a little bit. Auburn 2.5-point dog.
Yeah, I agree with Elliot basically on every point he just said. I've been riding Houston the whole time, picked them to win it before the tournament. I'm going to ride them through here. I think this is a men versus boys game. You got a bunch of 18-year-olds. Should be going to prom. Instead, they're playing in the Final Four. Houston's got men.
Yeah.
Houston has L.J. Cryer, who won a championship before. They have Juwan Roberts, who's played in 2 Elite Eights. They got men, and they play real defense. And they're going to bang Malawak around down low, and they're going to make it hard on Con Knippel and Cooper Flagg to get anything going. They don't rely on the make or miss of the game nearly as much as Alabama did, and Alabama certainly, was able to bother Cooper Flagg for most of that game. One of the worst games he's played in the tournament. Obviously, they still won by 20, which tells you how scary Duke is. But I think Houston is just a different matchup for them, and it hasn't come back to bite them yet. I do think this is when it's going to come back to bite them, that they haven't played a real game in a long, long time. They've cruised through the tournament. They cruised through the ACC. They cruised through the ACC tournament without Cooper Flagg. I think this is the first test they've had in a long, long time. And I think it's going to be a wake-up call, and I think Houston wins outright and ends up holding the trophy at the end of the weekend. And the other game, Florida won by 20 at Auburn earlier this year. I have a hard time picking them to do it again. Everyone that I've seen pick Florida keeps saying, well, you don't know if Johni Broom's going to be healthy. You don't know if Johni Broom's going to be healthy. Who's the coach of the Auburn Tigers?
That would be Bruce Pearl.
It's Bruce Pearl, right? You don't think Bruce Pearl has some magical syringes down in Auburn that he's going to give old Johni Broom and get him out there on the field?
Allegedly.
Or on the court?
He would not.
Allegedly.
Bruce Pearl?
No,
yeah, I think
he is
he'd be
by the
okay.
books.
So Yeah, I Jedi Broom's going to be out there. He might be 110%, not 100%. He's going to be the best he's felt in months. So, yeah, I'm not worried about him in that sense. The one thing I would be worried about if you are an Auburn backer in this game, you have to hope Chad Baker-Mazara doesn't commit a violent crime in the first 10 minutes because he is usually liable for one of those, an elbow to the face, a punch to the gut, a stabbing, something along those lines. Chad Baker-Mazara, 26 years old, likes to assault teenagers. So if he gets thrown out in the first 10 minutes of the game, that's
allegedly.
not
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's all clipped. You can see it. He got kicked out of Yale last year. Punched someone in the gut.
so a lot of allegedly moments there. Some actually happened, as he said, and not actually happened. I mean, there's, you know what? Jacob's takes do not represent those of Chatterbox Sports.
That's right. That's right.
No, I'm always fascinated by especially like as we're seeing the old guard of coaches start to dwindle out of college basketball. Bruce Pearl back in the Final Four, a chance to get to a national championship and to do it, of course, with Auburn right now going up against Florida, an SEC showdown. You have a veteran coach like that going up against, of course, Golden, who's 39 years old. By the way, I thought Golden looks like he's in his 20s. You know, he's older than Shire.
Yeah.
Like Shire's 37. Shire looks older than it. But anyways, college basketball, they need a new wave of young coaches coming in to start establishing themselves a bit. I love when the old guard continues to add to their legacies. That's why I always pull for the Caliparis. I know it's not a lot of people are big fans of his, but the older guard of coaches, I always lean that way. But I do think college basketball needs a new wave, new blood with some of these young coaches because the old guard of coaches is getting pushed out with the way things are changing with NIL. I think college basketball has probably been negatively impacted by the portal more than any other sport out there, and it's pushed a lot of greats out. You could say Coach K and Roy Williams and those guys all retired due to age. I think age made it easy to retire, but I think the final decision pushed them over the edge, which was how the game is changing. It's a young man's sport right now. Kudos to the older coaches like Pitino and others who are holding on and still navigating through it, making adjustments. But college basketball, do you agree? Which benefits college basketball right now? A veteran coach, like we're talking about Bruce Pearl with Auburn here, or new blood? Shire, I know, is at Duke, so that's a blue blood program that's always going to keep rolling, or Golden at Florida. Which coach do you think college basketball needs to get a win this weekend?
You got to get hate back in college basketball. And I think the way you do that is you get John Shire to hold a trophy in San Antonio after the Final Four. And, this Duke team's really hard to hate. And I think that's what's kind of driven the ratings around Duke for decades is, whether you like Duke and you're watching them because you want them to win, or you hate Coach K and you hate Duke, you're watching them that way. Yeah. So I think you got to drum that up a little bit in this Final Four. I think the way that you get people back in all the way on the anti-Duke side, obviously all Duke fans are still dialed in. I do think we're losing some of that Duke hate nationally, and I think the way you get that back is you have John Shire win it. I think the best story college basketball-wise would be Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. Obviously, how it ended at his previous job, and then gets to Houston. That stadium was empty for 5 years when they were uncompetitive, and now, they're one of the best marquee teams in college basketball. I think that's a phenomenal story, and they're certainly good enough to win it. I think that would be a great thing to see. One fun fact about that other game, when Bruce Pearl got the job at Auburn, whatever it was, 20 years ago, 18 years ago, he hired a plucky young up-and-comer from Columbia to be his director of player personnel. That was Todd Golden. Yeah. Now Florida's head coach. So on the first Auburn staff together, Bruce Pearl and Todd Golden.
Storylines write themselves. I saw Mouse Cop said I was bragging about the TV ratings just a week ago. I mean, I'm not really bragging. I was pointing out facts. The TV ratings for the tournament have been through the roof. Do you think that continues? How high of a rating I need to go look to see what was one of the higher Final Fours ratings-wise as of late, but this tournament's one of the highest-rated tournaments in decades. Does that continue? Do you think that trend continues into the weekend with 4 number ones going head-to-head? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be probably one of the higher-rated Final Fours ever. Not that I care about that, but it certainly will be. Everybody else cares about it. Everybody else likes it. They're all having fun, so I would have liked to see somebody else, but if we're going to do 4-1s every year, we'll do 4-1s and we'll ruin the tournament.
I agree. It'd be better if Florida was a 25-point favorite.
It would be. It would be.
There you go. And watch still be blowouts probably.
Oh yeah. No, there's very much a chance Florida wins that Auburn game by like 20. So
if you said the line, I apologize, but the ESPN bet line for Duke and Houston, Duke minus 5.5, and then 2.5. Florida's 2.5 points in that one. So there you go. All right, that wraps it up for us on the radio side. Appreciate everyone who tuned in and hung out with us this week. Maybe the Reds' misery. Maybe on Monday we'll be back.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool.
What would it take for you to be back on Monday, Elliot?
0.
27-0 over the next 3 games?
If the Reds win the next 3 games, 55-0.
Wow.
Every game, I'd be back.
Oh, every
each
game.
Every game
Okay.
has.
That'll help the
score
run
55.
differential.
I like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So there you have it. Appreciate you guys. Everybody have a great weekend. Until Monday, this has been Off the Bench. Do one more swoop of the room. Let's show off our crowns, because the crown will be a thing of the past, so it won't be relevant. So, I don't know if we'll – yeah, there you go. Off the Bench, presented by UDF. Appreciate you guys. All right, and we are back. The most positive Red show in the history of positive Red shows. What you got?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the top 10.
I don't think so. I don't think it was released anywhere. But anyway, that was only 10 seconds of it. A great Reds fan song. This was a Reds stat I saw from Lance McAllister. I thought I'd bring it up. Spencer Steer is
Who am I?
Is 1 for 18.
From the Reds pregame, like he does the Reds. Who am I? Like everyone knows
Yeah.
who Lance is. That wasn't a shot at Lance, just to be clear. Anyways, never mind. This is why I shouldn't talk. My bad.
Spencer Steer 1 for 18 this season. Hard hit percentage in 2023, 37%. Hard hit percentage in 2024, 39%. Hard hit percentage in 2025, 9%.
Well, he's trying to learn how to use his arms.
True. Exit velocity,
He said
88,
it, not me.
88 in 23, 88 in 24, 82 this year. But Bryce Spalding, he adds on to that. So you thought that was bad. It gets worse. The average bat speed of Spencer Steer, 71.5 in 23, 71.6 in 24, 69. Nice this year. Fast swing rate, 11%, 23, 13%, 24, 3% in 25. Spencer Steer should be nowhere near a major league ball field ever. I mean, right now, ever. So that's it for there. I also had this to say regarding the Reds. I'm not going to call the season dead. This is a promise until they lose the first 5 series. If they lose the first 5 series, it's over. I just want to make that very clear. So it's not over yet. So all my negativity, the season isn't over. Going over to a different baseball topic, Jacob.
Yes.
We were talking about this week. The new City Connect jerseys. I don't know if anybody has seen this. A new City Connect jersey. I guess the plan is out there now. So the first 4 have been released. They get released this year, I guess.
I just have seen these marketing pictures. I don't know when they're wearing them or when they'll officially be released.
So these are the first 4 new City Connect jerseys that we'll be able to see. Hopefully the Reds are able to keep their other City Connects because I do like that a lot. But these look good so far. I think these look good so far.
I think broad strokes, these are better.
Yeah.
I would say. I know I like the Rockies white and green ones quite a bit. I think these Rockies ones are phenomenal. The Red Sox yellow never really made a ton of sense to me.
I agree.
Love the green monster with the green monster font. I think that's phenomenal. This one's sick. South side was awesome, but I love the Bulls uniform for the White Sox. I think that's really cool. And then you don't really have many options with Miami, I guess, right?
Miami's
you got to do the Miami
yeah,
Knights, but they did it well.
I'm not a big fan of those Miami color schemes.
Better than the blue and red ones they were wearing for
yeah,
last year.
Yeah, it was. But nonetheless, the new City Connect jerseys are out. I'm excited to see what the Reds will be. I'm very excited to see what the Reds will be.
Important to note about some of these jerseys, obviously that looks more standard, so does that one, but this Rockies jersey is a pullover, a V-neck pullover. There's no buttons down the middle. So potentially a new jersey model for the MLB by Nike. We saw some of those during spring training, some of the pullovers during spring training, but possibly a new uniform model.
So how about that? There you go. Some new jerseys. Kenner, did you like those or no?
Yes, I'm not a big fan of the throwback. I just like I'm boring. I just like the regular jerseys. I don't like when they
you don't like the alternates. You mean you don't like
alternates? Sorry, but the Reds though those are easily my favorite ones, and it's not just because I'm a Reds fan. Those I think are awesome. Those are my favorite ones.
I don't think the Reds regular jerseys are good. I would like them to get an upgrade in that at some point. I don't know if they will because we're still complaining about it 30 years later, but I would like.
I care more who's in the jerseys for the Reds
sure,
right now. Than
sure,
yes.
sure, sure. But saying all that, I would like the Reds to change it eventually. We were talking about like that 2020 was it 2021 or 2020 and 2019?
19.
When the Reds went back to all their alternate jerseys, that was really, really cool. I hope they do that again because I did very much enjoy that, and I wish they would go to those 90s uniforms, man, or those early 2000s. The gray pinstripes, or the red and white pinstripes. Love them. That's what I want. Will I get it? Probably not. But that would be a cool City Connect if they were to do it that way.
Is it weird? Because they're, I think AJ or someone in the chat, where'd it go? Alex. What up, Alex? So they brought up, it's weird that the Reds have not revealed the alternates, but they've worn it, like it's been released in the video game.
They wore them in Dayton.
And they wore them in Dayton. But like there was no promotion of it. It's just kind of like, I guess, a soft launch is what they did in Dayton.
Yeah, maybe this is who's the Kentucky football coach that A&M hired, and then when everyone hated it, they went back on the contract. Stoops, UK's football coach. A&M hired him to be their next football coach, and the boosters hated it, so they went back on it. I think that's what happened here. I think the Reds walked those jerseys out for the spring training game in Dayton, saw how much everyone hates them, and
so that was the consensus.
Run it back. I think they're horrible. I think they're absolutely horrendous, your uniforms. I think that was the general sentiment, and they're completely plain with the same font on the back. I thought they were terrible. Just wear the normal ones if you're going to, go halfway in on alternates. So we'll see what happens, but if they haven't announced it yet, I assume they won't.
Yeah.
I assume they're going to make some changes.
I'm curious when they do. They're really pushing that Pete Rose May 14th game. And everyone gets the Pete Rose jersey. I'm really curious. I know I'm not expecting much, but I'm curious the quality of the jerseys. So the Pete Rose jersey, it's the replica jersey of the jersey he broke the record with, that he was wearing or whatever. So it's that style jersey. But I'm curious the quality of the jersey that's going to be on the backs of all the chairs at GABP. Will you be there? Will you be there to?
I almost certainly will. I almost certainly will be there. I don't know if I have tickets yet or not. I haven't looked that far ahead on my season package, but I'll definitely try to go to that game.
Alex said, just like every other replica giveaway, trash.
That's true.
It's a little.
That's true. I still wear one of my replica giveaway jerseys, the Hunter Green one, just because he's awesome.
Yeah.
And if I have that one, I'm not going to go buy another Hunter Green jersey. So I need it to either fall apart or stop fitting me so I can go buy a Hunter Green jersey.
Fair enough.
I'd imagine the quality of that jersey will not be good. Easily ripped.
All right, we good?
I think we're good.
Happy Friday.
We're going to box today?
Yeah.
We'll give the people what they want.
We got a box. We have to box today.
We'll box. Give me some time. 12:30, we'll say.
Yep.
Tentative boxing.
Tentative box.
So we'll see y'all then. I was going to let you sign off. I was just saying bye to the people. I was just saying bye to the people for box lunch.
Sorry, I saw.
It's not my job.
I got distracted by the chat. My bad. But
Put the crown on.
I think we talked about it the other day. Last thing here, the Elliot de la Cruz. I'm looking at that bobblehead over there.
Yeah.
So when they were promoting
this is good. Yeah.
The switch the Elliot de la Cruz switch, the bobblehead for the switch hitter bobblehead, I envisioned it being on the little placard there, like with two different Elliot de la Cruz. No,
so did I.
You just hopefully. I mean, you're either going to get lefty or righty, Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah.
It won't be on the same one. That's not the same thing. That's a weird promotion. It is.
I was when they announced the promotions, I was most excited for the switch hitter bobblehead and Hunter Green and his dog because
is the dog going to be separate too?
That's what I mean. I feel like the standard one-player bobbleheads get pretty tired. I mean, the ones that were fun last year, you can see them in front of Elliot. Oh, it's not even on the screen. But Jake Fraley in the Viking helmet is great. Ellie running the steal in stride is phenomenal. The Nasty Boys from a long time ago is the best one. The three of them. Kinner's grabbing them now so we can show you guys. But yeah, those are phenomenal bobbleheads, and I was hoping that maybe they would have the both of them there, some way of showing the switch hitting. But yeah, one of each side is certainly upsetting.
Yeah, because they obviously are capable of doing it, and it's not a big deal. It's a free promotional giveaway. It's cool. I collect these. I have, I think, every one for the last 10 years since I've worked in radio. But they've had some cool ones. My favorite, I love the Dusty Baker one that came with the toothpick holder. That was more than but that's one of my favorites.
Who was on the horse? Puig.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wild Horse. That was a great one.
That was funny, too, because that bobblehead giveaway was supposed to be for later in the season. And then it was supposed to be a weekend game. That's when most of those are. And then they moved it up to some random Tuesday or Wednesday in the middle of the week because the trade deadline was coming up and they knew they were getting rid of him.
Yeah.
So they had to make sure he was still a Red when they do the Yasiel Puig bobblehead giveaway. Scooter on a scooter.
That was great.
I know I'm missing some other ones.
I guess now that we've been slated by the switch hitter bobblehead, we'll make our guesses now. Does Ross's head bobble?
Yes.
Dog.
Does Hunter Green's dog's head bobble?
I bet it will.
It has to, right?
A double bobble.
Or is it this gate gets Hunter, this gate gets the dog?
I would bet a lot of money they bobble.
Okay, I hope so.
I think they're going to bobble.
I hope so. Alex Wallace says it won't. That's not good news. That's not good news.
That's bad news.
Alex said a Jedi Joey. That was his favorite one. But the City Connect bobbles, look cool. But yeah, do you guys collect the bobbleheads or no?
I did. Then I got cut from the soccer team freshman year, ripped the head off of all my bobbleheads out of anger, so I don't have any bobbleheads anymore.
The only bobblehead I have in my basement is a shattered Mike Moustakas bobblehead.
Yeah.
So I guess we're in the same boat?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I had like 35 bobbleheads, ripped the heads off all of them.
Did you see Nate Seltzer brings it up in our chat, last thing before we get out of here today. Did you see the Mariners promotion? Cal Raleigh's new bobblehead.
No.
Obviously his nickname, the Big Dumper. They have him in the catching stance.
Okay.
And for all of the promotional pics, it is posted from the back.
Love that.
They're not posting any of the promotional pictures from the front, at least none that I've seen yet.
I like that.
It's all never mind. Yeah. I almost just said it's all back shots of Cal Raleigh. I was like, I shouldn't say it. But we're off radio.
Jacob said back shots, just saying. But yeah, Molly's brought up the Charlton, Myers, and Dibble bobblehead. That's what this one is.
Yeah.
The 90 World Series. Oh, they won a World Series in 1990. I was technically one. I was technically alive
So
when they
you've seen
won.
success.
I guess. That's what they say. But all right, we're done. Appreciate you guys. Till Monday, Off the Bench, presented by UDF.